whenever you're ready.
Alright, so hamburgers, cookies, ice cream, brownies, pizza, it's usually a big one. Bet some of you guys are a little intrigued and maybe you want some of that food right now, but maybe for some of you it's a little early in the morning. So the reason why I'm talking about food is because many times I feel like as a society we have grown to focus on what we eat, whether it be bad or good. It doesn't really, we may not be always focusing on healthy foods, but we do know what we are putting into our bodies. And I think you guys have realized this from the various speeches that we've had on the different types of food that we have been putting into our body, and here's another one. So today I want to talk to you guys about the negative effects that we have seen in childhood obesity and the changes that should be made so that we can have a brighter and obesity-free future for the children. I'm going to start off with a statistic. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, childhood obesity has more than doubled in children and quadrupled in adolescents in the past 30 years. So the reason I bring this up is because we all know what childhood obesity is, or it's a term that we are all familiar with, or some of you may not know. And it's something that we throw around and we talk about it, but we don't really talk about it and find a way to fix it. So today the things that I'm going to touch base on and talk about are what we have been doing currently as a generation and what have you been putting into our bodies. The negative effects that it could have, both short term and long term. And then the changes that should be made and implemented in order to fix it. So let's talk. Let's talk about what we have been doing. I think as a generation we have grown to be directed towards the way of what's fast, what's easy, and what's convenient. And that's why we use the handy dandy drive-through. You're hungry, you just drive through the restaurant, and not drive through the restaurant, drive through around the restaurant, and you have food available at sometimes a very cost-efficient cost, and it's easy and accessible. And that's a bit problematic because we also live in a generation where most of the time both parents work, and it's sometimes difficult to make a home-cooked meal and make the time to make a healthy and nutritious balanced meal. And I think that's one of the things that perhaps we may need to look into in order to create better benefits. So I've talked about some of the things that we put into our bodies, which are all those things that I mentioned at the beginning. Pizza. I think it's one of my favorite ones. Chips and other things. So let's look at the negative effects that it could have on our bodies. I have a immediate health effect that could result from childhood obesity, and this is obese youth are more likely to have a risk factor for cardiovascular disease such as high cholesterol or high blood pressure in a population sample from 5 to 17-year-olds. So that's the youth of right now. 70% of obese youth have at least had one of these factors. So not only are they, they're not only subject to this and it could affect them, but we are seeing that at least 70%, a very large majority of them, are showing some of those factors. And it's according to the statistic is according to the Journal of Pediatrics in an article, Cardiovascular Risk Factors and Excess Adiposity Among Overweight Children and Adolescents. That's a very long title, but it's very tight. And then so those are some of the short-term effects, but not only can it be short-term effects, but also very long-term effects. And we also have to look into and make our futures better. And this is the statistic that I have. Children who are obese are likely to be obese as adults and have problems like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, arthritis, and even some sorts of cancer. and this is according to Dr. Friedman in the relation of childhood BMI to adult adiposity. And BMI, if some of you guys don't know, it's body mass index. So it pretty much measures your height and your weight, and it places you in a certain range. And if you're within the healthy range, then you're okay. But some people sometimes surpass them. That's when you get childhood obesity. So those are some of the long-term effects. So now I want to bring it back and talk about what are the things that we can do to change this. I think the most obvious one is, a healthy lifestyle. We are pounded with that. It's a lot easier said than done. We talk about healthy food and running and exercise, but it's not like it seems like it's an easy thing and an easy thing to fix, but it's a little harder than it seems. And one of the reasons why is because lower income families, they're not necessarily sometimes exposed to what is healthy, and they don't know what nutrition or what is nutrition sometimes. And this is why it brings me to my point. I think that there should be some nutritional education for all families, not only low income families, but all families. And the reason why is because we, as a society, we might not know what we're putting into our bodies, so we're not purposefully eating bad, but sometimes we just need to make that a little more clear. So it's, now talking about nutritional education, I think that it needs to be in two places, the home and school. Home, because this is where most of your diets are implemented, and this is where you eat most of your things, or most of your food, and that's how, and this is where you form your child's eating behaviors and your child's eating habits. If you only have healthy food, that's what they're going to eat. If you only have junk food, that's what they're going to eat. And that's why it's important to educate people so that they may provide more healthy, options. And I know it also brings up the problem that it's a little more cost efficient to or not cost efficient, but it's a little more expensive sometimes to eat healthy foods. But it's something that I think people should put some invest towards, so that they can live healthy and healthier and longer lives. And then so school. School is another place where children are formed and where they see their diet. Some of the lower income families, they depend on the meal that they serve their children during that day. And it's also a big concern for schools because although they want to give healthy foods, it is a lot more expensive. And one of the things that I read from an article was that over the past 5 years, $6.8 billion were spent towards healthier foods and things, and that's a lot of money. So it's something definitely to take in mind. But not only is it important to provide the healthy meals, but it's also important to teach about eating healthy and encourage eating healthy and making better choices and grabbing a fruit instead of a candy bar. And just things like that, little changes that we can make in order to make a very big impact in the future. So as a result, I have talked about what we have been doing lately, the negative effects, both long-term and short-term, that we have seen through childhood obesity, and the changes that we can possibly make in order to create a brighter future. And I hope I have shed some light on you guys regarding this issue and what it contributes and how we can contribute and make small changes in order to make a better, brighter future. Thank you very much.
Well, Mariah was supposed to do the evaluation on that, but she's not here. So let me see if I can just make a few comments without running out of breath, and we'll see how it goes. Let me start with something that I thought was easy to pick out and that it's a very nicely delivered speech. You do an excellent job speaking to everybody. You're looking up most of the time. I think that your movements seem purposeful for the most part. Sometimes the hand gestures are a little bit repetitive, but you looked very natural up there, confident when you were speaking, and you seemed to be addressing all of us. And I thought your voice was also pretty effective. Maybe you could project a little bit more, but there's good variety and energy. So all the delivery stuff, you're doing great on that. Content-wise, I thought it was also very solid. I like the introduction. Just air. Sorry. And I thought that you had a reasonable preview. The one thing that I think is maybe missing from the speech is any emotional or motivational persuasive elements to it. You give us a bunch of good statistical information. You kind of talk about the problem in an objective way, but there's not much personification or visualization in the speech. And so I don't know that people will react to it emotionally, and as a consequence, I think you're underselling there. Sorry. All right, thank you.